Good morning, everybody. Matt Modi here to give you my favorite NBA player prop picks today. We're talking Tuesday, December 17th, today's NBA betting slate. The splash zone is back in your life. Admittedly, we have not been splashing around too much recently. It's been pretty brutal. NBA Cup today, so we only have one game. It's the NBA Cup final, I should say. I'm going to have 4 plays for you guys to lock in today. Admittedly, playing this one pretty heavily. Of course, 3 of the plays are plus money bangers. Before we can get into that, we do have to do a recap from yesterday, which was brutal. I mean, I've had some tough days in terms of hooks and everything. Honestly, that was not yesterday. The losses weren't even close. We cashed out Norman Powell 4+ made 3-pointers. Nothing else came close. James Harden assists, Jakob Poeltl points, Michael Porter Jr. threes, and the last one was Gershon Yabusele rebounds. None of them even came close. So sometimes we have a bunch of hooks. That unfortunately was not the case last night, so I can't really come on here and complain about bad luck, just bad picks and bad process, and I apologize for that. It's been a slog of an NBA season that has kept me up at night, but I'm very confident that we're going to turn it around. I'm going to tweak my process a little bit and really hope that we can turn things around on the entire season. So yesterday down about 3.5 units. That furthers our losses on the year to about just under 7 units on the year, which is really frustrating because we started the year horribly. We got ourselves back into the green, and now we've had 3 straight brutal days to put us back in the red. It's kind of just the nature of how this NBA season has gone on. I'm still trying to recapture the magic that we've had in the NFL and that we had in the NBA last year. I think that's part of what makes this so frustrating for me is that last year's NBA season was amazing. This year's NFL season has been amazing. I mean, we swept the board for Monday Night Football last night. Just can't get myself going in the NBA. But very confident that we're going to turn it around. I remain confident, just again, going to tweak some processes here and there. Hope that luck turns around for us. And 4-0 tonight, not going to get us into the green on the year, but it will erase the sins from yesterday, which is all we can hope for at this point. So, Bucks versus Thunder tonight. Again, I'm going to have 4 plays for you guys. I'm actually going to have an under, which I know is never fun, but I am going to have an under tonight. It's Damian Lillard under 22.5 points, minus 105 odds at DraftKings. So this is going to be the only under that I'm playing tonight. And I get that this is going to feel scary taking an under for Damian Lillard. A, it's Damian Lillard. B, he's been very, very good recently. But this is just as tough of a matchup as you can possibly ask for against this Thunder defense. And that's the reason why we are taking this under. You know, looking at Dame, if you're a hit rate type of bettor, you're going to hate this play. He's hit this number in 9 of his last 10 games. I see that and immediately want to fade those results and take an under for Dame. As low as this point total looks, and I get it's low, 22.5 for Damian Lillard. The Thunder have a phenomenal defense guarding point guards in general, and even more specific than that, guarding play types where Damian Lillard scores the majority of his points. On the entire season, look at every source in how the Thunder guard point guards. Per props.cash, the Thunder have allowed the 5th fewest points per game to point guards. Per Fantasy Pros, number 1, the fewest points per game to point guards. And per hashtag NBA, over the last month, they've allowed the 4th fewest points per game to point guards. And when you dig into it, it makes complete sense. They stop a lot of the ways in which Damian Lillard scores. Like 60% of his shot profile, the Thunder are an elite defense at stopping. Pick and roll ball handler, majority of Dame's points come via the pick and roll ball handler. The Thunder have the 2nd best defense in the NBA guarding pick and roll ball handlers. Literally allow the 2nd fewest points per game. Related to that, isolation, another play type where Dame scores a lot of his points. The Thunder also have the 2nd best defense guarding isolation scores in the NBA, allowing the 2nd fewest points per game via isolation. Dame also likes to get out and run. Transition. The Thunder allow the 4th fewest points per game via transition. Just an elite defense across the board. The only area where you could say that Dame has an advantage against the Thunder is getting to the free throw line. Dame is pretty good, even though he's small, at drawing fouls and getting to the line. Thunder do foul at a decently high rate. That's kind of part of what makes their defense great, is they're a little bit aggressive. But everything else for him looks brutal. And the Thunder try really hard to get the ball out of the hands of guys like Damian Lillard. And you look at Props Madness, which is where I got all my info from player play types and how the defenses guard those play types. 5 players with a similar scoring profile to Damian Lillard have played the Thunder. Only one of them hit their point prop over. That was Zach LaVine, who scored 22 points and his over-under was 18.5. So that's not even that impressive of a game. Everybody else against the Thunder, Looking at their play type, went under. De'Aaron Fox scored 14 points against them. His over-under was 24 and a half. Trae Young went under his scoring, or I should say his point prop over-under, went under against the Thunder. Jamal Murray scored 12 points. His over-under was 19 and a half. And then you just go through point guard game logs, not even necessarily specific player types. Fred VanVleet did have an awesome game against them a couple weeks ago, but last game, he scored 8 points. The game before that, Luka scored 16. The game before that, Scotty Barnes scored 12. So I get that this one feels horrifying. Dame's not getting 23 points tonight. That's play number one. Next up, here's where Dame is going to play well in this game. It's rebounds. Damian Lillard, 5+ rebounds, plus 125 odds at ESPN Bet. So before you can call me a Dame hater, let's go ahead and take an over for him. So we're just kind of balancing things out. The universe got to keep things equally balanced. So we're taking his over rebounds and his under points. Nice plus money price, getting him at 5+ rebounds. 5 might seem a lot for Damian Lillard because he's a smaller guard. Quietly, he's done this in 3 of his last 4 games, and he's done it in 5 of his last 10. So right off the bat, 5 of 10, 50% hit rate. Sounds good when you're betting something at plus 125 odds. And of the 5 games in which he went under, 3 separate times he had exactly 4 rebounds. Obviously, the lower the numbers get, hooks are going to happen. So you can't really my rule is you can't complain about a hook if the over-under is below 5. So 4.5 and below, you're not allowed to complain about a hook. All I'm doing here is just showing you that he's getting close. And the matchup is about as good as it gets for Damian Lillard. The Thunder, yeah, they don't allow a lot of players, a lot of teams to score against them. They allow the second most rebounds just in general. They're not a great rebounding team. And they specifically allow a ton of rebounds to guards. And that's similar to points under, no matter what source you look at. According to Fantasy Pros and Props.cash, the Thunder allow, number 1, the most rebounds per game to point guards in the entire NBA. Over the last month, looking at hashtag NBA, not quite as juicy of a matchup, but still good. 9th most rebounds to point guards over the last month. But if you look at NBA.com, which I don't always like to look at because it doesn't distinguish point or shooting guard, it just gives you guard, forward, and center. But because it helps my point, I'm going to use them. The Thunder have allowed the most rebounds to guards in the entire NBA over the last 10 games. Again, that includes shooting and point guard. Anybody listed as a guard. And just the game log against them is crazy. Going by the recent matchups, last game, Fred VanVleet had 9 rebounds. His over-under was 3.5. Luka had 11. Over-under was 9.5. Spencer Dinwiddie in that same game had 3, which is a very low number. His over-under was 1.5. DeJounte Murray had 9. Scotty Barnes had 12. Last month, on technically November 30th, so like the latest it can possibly be in November. In the same game against the Lakers, D'Angelo Russell had 9 on an over-under of 2.5, and in that same game, Austin Reeves also went over his rebound prop. It's gonna seem scary because people are like, Giannis is gonna grab every rebound. Giannis could grab a lot of rebounds. Last game against the Hawks, Giannis got a lot of rebounds. Guess what? Damian Lillard still had 6 rebounds in that game. So it is possible for both of them to go over. We just need him to get to 5 tonight. I love this one. Next up, let's head to the other side of the court. Let's take a Thunder prop. Jalen Williams, 25+ points, plus 150 odds at Bet365. Similar to the Damian Lillard, his point prop under, the first one that I talked about. This is not a hit rate type of play. For those of you hit rate bettors, you're not going to like this one. J. Will has only hit 25 points in 9 games this season. There was a stretch in the middle of the year where he did it 6 times in a 7-game stretch. Since then, he's only done it in 2 of his last 8 games. So another situation where we get to fade recent results, which is what you know I love to do. And I just like this as a positive regression play for Jalen Williams. Looking at his last couple games in which he's gone under, last 2 games, he scored 18 and 20 points, which is gross, hasn't really come close, but he shot 8 of 21 and 8 of 20 in both of those games. Generally, when I see that poor shooting in 2 games in a row, especially with a good player like J. Will, I expect some type of positive regression. And this is not a defense, the Bucks defense, that I'm scared of, right? They're a decent defense overall, middle of the pack. They're average. But in terms of play types, they are a decent to good matchup based on the ways in which Jalen Williams scores. Their defense is not an abomination, but they're not nearly as good, not even close to as good as the Thunder. Over the last 10 games, 14th ranked defensive net rating, right in the middle of the pack. And in terms of play types, again, decent to good for J. Will. Majority of J. Will's points come via transition. Bucks have the 6th worst transition defense in the NBA. Again, Props Madness will show you all this stuff. And the link to that is in the pinned comment as well as the description of the video. From there, so number one is transition. Again, Bucks 6th worst. From there, second most points is via the pick and roll ball handler. That's how he scores the second most of his points. Bucks allow the 4th most points per possession to pick and roll ball handlers. Looking at similar scoring profiles to Jay Will, Props Madness only has 5 of them because it's a little bit of a uniquer profile. Cade Cunningham scored 39 against the Bucks. 35. Darius Garland scored 39 against the Bucks. Cam Thomas scored 32. So technically, 3 of 5 players have hit their over point prop against the Bucks, but it's guarding Cade, or it's talking about Cade and Garland, who each played the Bucks twice, and both went 1 and 1. So both hit it once, went under once. But the games they went over, they smashed the over. And I get that, like kind of similar to the Dame rebounds one. You're going to sit here and say the Thunder offense is the SGA show. You don't want to take any other point prop that's not SGA. His number is so high, it's 32.5, and SGA, as good as he is, kind of hovers around like the 31 to 32 point prop mark. So I don't want to take him over 32.5. And Jay Will has a very similar shot profile to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, just on lower volume. So I'll gladly take 25 plus points at the juicy plus money price as our third one. Our fourth and final pick of the video is Taurean Prince over 1.5 made 3-pointers, plus 180 odds at bet 365. So we're going back to a Bucks player. The one area on the floor where the Thunder defense is weak is guarding spot up shooters. Nobody should be shooting up. Spot up shooters, and even more specific than that, guarding the corners. On the entire season, the Thunder have allowed the most corner 3-point attempts against them, and the second most made corner 3-pointers. Over the last 10 games, third most both made and attempted corner 3-pointers. So it was an issue last year. It's been an issue this year. It's by design. It's how they play defense. You look at just a map of the basketball court and all the areas of the court and how the Thunder guard those areas of the court. They have a top 10 defense literally everywhere else on the court aside from the corners. They allow the third fewest points per game in the restricted area. Third fewest points per game to above the break 3-pointers. The mid-range they guard well. Everything is good except for corner threes. Again, this is by design. They're extremely aggressive getting the ball out of the hands of the pick and roll ball handler, which is why, again, second fewest points per game. Same thing with the roll man. They don't let centers score via the roll against the Thunder. They're going to crash down. They're going to be really aggressive getting the ball out of those guys' hands, and they're going to leave the corners open, specifically guys like Taurean Prince, who they don't necessarily respect their jump shot. They're going to let those guys who aren't plus elite shooters shoot. And Taurean Prince, no one's going to think he's Klay Thompson. He's taken the most corner 3-point attempts per game on the Bucks on the entire season and over the last 10 games. And that last 10-game number is important because that includes him playing fewer minutes in his last 4 games. He was kind of struggling with an illness over the past week or so, and his minutes have been down. 4 games ago, he only played 9 minutes. That was up to 20 the next 3 games. So that's not even that good, because if you look at the entire season, he's averaging over 26 minutes per game. He's probably going to see about 25 to 30 minutes tonight, especially since Chris Middleton is dealing with the same illness that debilitated Taurean Prince, so it could even be higher than that. And it's been a decent year for Prince. He's hit at least 2 3-pointers in 14 of 25 games. That gives us a 56% hit rate for a prop we're taking at plus 180 odds. Now, he has missed it in 3 of his last 4 as he was dealing with that illness, but he did also cash it last game. So he missed it in 3 straight. Then he cashed it last game against the Hawks. More importantly, not only did he hit 2 3-pointers, he took 7 attempts. That's what we love to see, is the attempts. We love to see that, especially against the Thunder tonight, who's going to leave him open on the corner. Let's hope he can make 2 tonight. And that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We are going to turn it around. I promise. I appreciate the kind words as the season has been a slog. Again, thanks everybody for watching, and have a good one.